Chapter 499 to 500 Point City. After Zhang Yi and the other forces from the 12 cities arrived here, they were led by the service staff to the areas temporarily reserved for them to live. Everyone's eyes were full of curiosity. Zhang Yi asked the waitress, "Girl, what are the ordinary people here doing? Why can't I see anyone?" The waitress smiled and answered Zhang Yi, but the smile on her face was a little too professional, without any emotion, as if a smiling mask was put on her face. "They are all working." She led the way in front and said slowly, "In Blizzard City, everyone is assigned a job according to their talents. To keep the city running, someone needs to work 24 hours a day, so most ordinary people work more than 14 hours a day. That is to say, except for rest and mealtime, the rest of the time needs to be invested in labor. Of course, this is only for grassroots staff. For those technical rare talents working in special positions, they can enjoy a good standard of living. The more outstanding the ability, the better living conditions they can enjoy. But most of them are just ordinary workers, so they spend most of their time working." Zhang Yi's eyes flashed with a playful light after hearing the introduction of the service staff. "Then what about the elderly and children who are unable to work? What should they do?" Lu Karen interrupted. "They should be given special care, right? After all, the physical conditions of the elderly and children are different from those of young and middle-aged people." The smile on the corner of the waitress's mouth became more intense, but there was a hint of sadness in this smile. "That's not the case. No matter they are old or young, unless their families can make enough contributions to make up for their vacancies, they are not qualified to live in Blizzard City."
"What?"
Lu Karen was shocked and couldn't help saying, "This is too cruel. This is just a simple rule of survival in the end times." Zhang Yi said to her calmly, "There is no need to make a fuss. Even though the Jiangnan regional headquarters has a lot of supplies, they must strictly control the number of residents in the end times. Since they can only take care of the lives of some people, they must leave the quota for more valuable people. This is reasonable." Lu Karen sighed lightly. "I understand the reason. But doesn't this place still retain the social state of human civilization? I thought it would be different from Tianhai City. At least, they will take good care of the children." Zhou Qier and Liang Yu both had a look of reluctance on their faces. Indeed, at the very least, they believe that children should be cared for. Because children are the future. If children are driven out of Blizzard City because they cannot provide enough labor value, what will happen in the future? The waitress said disapprovingly, "This is not a problem at all. Wouldn't it be better if couples who are able to provide more value had more children? We have a fertility quota in Blizzard City. When necessary, having children is also a task that must be completed in the end times." Lu Karen opened his mouth, unable to imagine that such laws would be implemented here. Only Zhang Yi was not surprised at all. When the group came outside, there was already a bus waiting for them. Everyone got on the bus. Xiao Honglian and others were very cautious and did not dare to talk much on the way, because they knew that everyone in Blizzard City might report their words and deeds. If they said something wrong by mistake, they might get themselves into trouble. Zhang Yi had warned them of this before they set off. After getting on the bus, their respective communication devices received the management regulations of Blizzard City. Zhang Yi quickly browsed through it. There were a lot of laws and regulations on it, more than 100. It can be seen that this was temporarily drafted after the end of the world, but there are strict regulations in all aspects of life. Among the regulations, there are more than a dozen items marked in red, which are special reminders for outsiders like Zhang Yi. For example, Blizzard City has a curfew after 12 o'clock, and no one is allowed to appear on the street, except with special approval from the top management of Blizzard City. For example, fighting is prohibited in Blizzard City, and violators will be severely punished. The specific punishment is not clearly stated, and it probably depends on the situation, but I think the punishment will not be light. Because at this time, internal struggles are something that the top management wants to avoid as much as possible. Zhang Yi read all the regulations carefully. Fortunately, most of them do not have too many restrictions for outsiders like him. As long as he stays honestly and waits for the meeting to end, it will be fine. However, the management regulations for residents in the city still give Zhang Yi a very depressing feeling. He looked up at the waitress who always had a fake smile on her face and began to understand why she always gave people a feeling of indifference. In this place, the primary goal is to survive, not to live. They have been accustomed to decades of free society, and suddenly they live in a managed. A city with such strict rules will inevitably lose some of its humanity, especially the part about freedom and happiness. Zhang flipped through the regulations and looked at the time. It was now past 7 o'clock in the evening. There were still more than 4 hours before the curfew. Zhang asked, "Waiter, if I go out now, should I be able to return to my residence before 12 o'clock?" The waitress frowned visibly. She replied politely, "I suggest you try to avoid this behavior, because there are patrols everywhere in the city. Your appearance on the streets at night may cause unnecessary trouble." "I think it's troublesome enough now," Zhang Yi thought to himself. Of course, he couldn't stay in his residence all night. It was not easy to get here, so he wanted to find Bailey Chongqing. The two of them could talk face to face and get more information about Blizzard City. At least for the sake of the secret between the two of them, he could give him some pointers so that he wouldn't make any trouble at the meeting tomorrow. Being able to obtain more information can make Zhang Yi make fewer mistakes than others. This is very critical. He didn't continue talking. This female service staff was just a grassroots worker, and her status in Blizzard City seemed to be of the lowest level. He went back and contacted Bailey Chongqing directly. Bailey Chongqing was the captain of the investigation team, and his rank in Blizzard City should be very high. This chapter ends here. Please like and subscribe for more content. Thanks.